Holla ballers, and we're almost at the end of all the basic class previews for Legion. Thank you so much for sticking with me for what has been a very intense week. One more to go. Hopefully we'll get that out today. So let us get on with it with the Druids. Now you might think this is going to be a relatively long video, but I'm sure you can see the time and see that it's not, in fact, even though we have 4 specs to go over. The Druid overall is getting some minor tweaks here and there, but no major stuff, okay? So what might seem major actually isn't. But so that's how we're looking so far for the Druids. That's why it's not going to be as long as you probably expected. The caveat is, of course, this is early days. Okay, we have no talents, we have no artifact stuff, which is going to be the meat on top of the plate. This is the plate, the foundation, and then they're going to bring the meat in afterwards. These are the basic changes they're going to make, so you'll only see a few spells. All the rest of the stuff is going to come in afterwards, but it will give you a sense of the direction that they are pushing, well, possibly your main class or whatever you're looking forward to re-roll to inside of Legion. So hopefully we can carry that out for you. So let us begin then with balance. Ooh. The elements that carve, form into the universe are fluid forces of nature. Some beings seek to bend the power of these natural elements to their will. Druids, however, worship the protecting spirits of nature. Long ago, nature's equilibrium was thrown out of balance, leaving the world vulnerable to catastrophic events, including the first invasion of the Burning Legion. By leveraging the sacred powers of the moon, the sun, and the stars, balanced druids access arcane and nature magics, made more potent still through shapeshifting, when the spellcaster takes the form of the moonkin to aid in the fight against imbalance that threatens the natural order of all things. The Balanced Druid! The Balanced Druid. Change. So as I said, there wasn't a great deal of change. The Balanced Druid is the one that's getting the most amounts of change. So they're changing your resource system. The Eclipse Bar begun. The ludicrous incarnation of the Eclipse Bar in Warlords of Draenor, where it was the game playing and you had to follow along. And only you could make mistakes because the game wasn't going to stop at any point and allow you to catch up. It would just keep going and going and going and going, and all you could do was screw it up. Some people quite enjoyed it because, I don't know, maybe it was a more relaxed playstyle and they were quite happy with it compared to making some of the more difficult choices that did exist in Mists of Pandaria. And they're getting rid of it completely now. I'm happy. The Eclipse Bar just... It's a nightmare. I mean, I played a Moonkin in Ulduar times. It was the first time I really played around with it, where you had to track the internal cooldowns of lunar eclipse and make sure that you procced it at exactly the right time. All that kind of stuff that went on, and it wasn't that fun. And then it had all sorts of incarnations. I probably think the Mr. Pandaria version was actually the best. I liked it. But now they're getting rid of it, and instead you are having it replaced, okay, with Astral Power, Astral Power. I'm going to call it AP from now on. Okay, so what's sticking around? Moonfire and Sunfire are back as 2 independent buttons. Okay, so you get your dots, 18 seconds and 14 seconds, okay, all that kind of stuff. Sunfire still spreads, as you are used to, so that's sticking around all good. I'm so sad to see it go. New spell, Lunar Strike. Yeah, Lunar Strike. Call down a strike of lunar energy, causing strong arcane damage to the target and minor arcane damage to all enemies within 5 yards. No more... or whatever the noises it made. So Lunar Strike is obviously the lunar attack that you're going to get. It generates 15 astral power, and it's kind of interesting how it's the almost opposite of Sunfire, in that the Sunfire, which is the solar, causes the AoE damage in terms of the dot, but the lunar main attack actually does the AoE splash damage on this side, on the big strong attack. So I see what you did there, Blizz. I see what you did there. And this will generate 15 astral power. Note that Sunfire and Moonfire don't generate any power. You then get Solar Wrath. Not just Wrath, it's now Solar Wrath. A 1.5 second cast, whereas Lunar Strike is 2.5 second cast. It hurls a ball of solar energy at the target, dealing moderate nature damage, and generates 9 astral power. Okay, so much faster, generates 9. So now you're probably asking, do we have access to both of these, Preacher? Yes, you do. These are both the ways you will generate astral power. So we have one that has an AoE component to it in the Lunar Strike, and we have another one that is raw single target, is generally the idea. So what you might think, if I'm single targeting, will I use the other spell? Yes! Star Surge makes its return. Instant cast, thank God, no longer stupid requirements needed to get it to instant. 40 astral power. So this has a cost. You launch a Star Surge as normal, and it grants you lunar and solar empowerments, okay? Which increase the damage of your next lunar strike or solar wrath by 30% respectively. You can stack each empowerment up to 3 times. Yes! This is where the fun comes in. This is where your thinking heads come on. And it might sound silly at first, but it's not. It's not. It's not a case of firing off a Star Surge and then just firing off the empowerments that come with it. No. Bad player. Naughty. That's not what you're doing. You are thinking, what's coming up in this fight? When do I want to use these empowerments? That's what you're thinking. Because you are now capable of very, very cool burst. And you're very, very capable of very cool AoE burst, okay? You can rack up 3 charges of Lunar Strike for when the ad phase is about to come. Nice. You can also build up 3 stacks of Solar Empowerment for when it's about to be the single target DPS. This simple change opens up a whole variety of options. So good. So you'll Star Surge at 40 Astral Power, okay? Then you'll start building these Lunar and Solar Empowerment charges, which will translate into your Lunar Strike and your Solar Wrath. That's where your fun's going to come from. Now, let me make you all cry. Starfall, 60 Astral Power. It calls down the waves of falling stars that damage enemies in the targeted radio scratch. It's a targeted spell now, okay? It's not around you. That's going away. The whole AoEing, everything around you mindlessly is going away. It's now a targeted spell. Purely okay with this. Starfall has caused enough problems, in my opinion, although I guarantee and I understand the Moonkin tears that will probably come from this. However, there's something to bear in mind here. Two things here, guys, before you lose your fucking shit. One, the 8 radius of Starfall, even though it's targeted, is fucking huge. Okay? 3.5 times that of Blizzard and Rain of Fire. That's standard, okay? It is huge. You can Starfall a big fucking area. Enemies that are stood within this large area take 30% additional damage from dots. Yes. Which means your AoE is all good. You're going to Starfall the crap out of an area, and you're going to be dotting everything in there for huge damage. Nice. More than happy with this. I think it's fine. Absolutely fine. Like this change. Starfall is a wonderful, wonderful spell in its current incarnation. You're not going to deny me. It's a hell of a lot of fun. So cool. But it causes problems in the game. It does. It causes problems. This is now the solution. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. And Moonkin would be back on my radar as a main character. I'm fine with this system. They've put back in choice. The game is no longer in charge of Moonkin. Starfall has been tweaked from what has made it in Warlords of Draenor kind of stupidly powerful because of the way you could fire it off and get the benefit of it. Now you have to do some thinking about it, but it's a huge area. Your dotting is going to count for something in there. It's more thought, it's more immersive, it's much better gameplay. I am fine with it, but I understand that a lot of people are going to be pissed with it. The talents they've shown off is Blessing of the Ancients. Gain a Blessing of the Ancients, activating or swapping between one of the 2 following beneficial effects. Okay, so you fire this thing off, and it activates or you can swap between them. The Blessing of Elune, which increases astral power generated by Solar Wrath or Lunar Strike by 50%. Or Blessing of Anshe. I hope I'm saying that. Anshe. Grants 3 astral power per 2 seconds. So one is the single target one, obviously, where you're using Wrath and Lunar Strike, and the other one is for AoE, because you're going to be starfalling and multi-dotting more than likely. So that's the general idea that goes behind that. So I haven't done a gameplay section because it should seem pretty obvious to anyone who's ever played a Moonkin before. Keep dots up. Use Solar Wrath more than likely, unless it's AoE damage, to build your AP, and then choose what you're going to do with it. Okay, get your stacks of lunar and solar empowerment, fire them off at an appropriate time. Very, very simple, basic stuff. More stuff coming from talents, but the balance changes. Thumbs fresh. All right, all good. Let's feral. Feral druids also seek to curb imbalance in nature. They observe the fantastic intricacies of the physical world and the delicate fabric in which all living creatures are given purpose. Whether on land or in the sea, in a lush jungle or an uncultivated desert, death is a part of the cycle which sustains life. Nature is an eternal dance between predator and prey. As a shapeshifter, the feral druid endlessly pursues a greater understanding of this truth. They seek a visceral connection to the wild, and in combat take the form of a deadly feline predator. Feral druids become ferocious, agile stalkers, ripping, biting, and bleeding their enemies dry. The forces of chaos are tamed by the druid's primal fury. Wonderful description for what is hopefully about to become a more interesting spec, at least from my point of view. No secret, if you've ever been on my channel for longer than probably 6 months, you will know I really dislike the Feral Druid in Warlords of Draenor. I find it tedious, repetitive, and boring. And a lot of that is the cumbersome playstyle of it. The Feral Druid, and I'm not joking, honestly, with what I'm about to show, which is the Feral Spells. There you go. I have written so little because there is so little changing, but they're just making it more quality of life. The big change, obviously, Savage Roar is no longer a baseline ability that you will have to deal with in some form or another, glyphed or not. It's now turning into a talent which should have comparable options, equally as good, in the same tier, in the same talent row. Okay, that's the big change. Other than that, everything else pretty much remains the same. You're still going to be using Shred, Rake, Rip, Ferocious Bite in the same way. And Omen of Clarity still exists, and Primal Fury still does the same thing, and Razor Claw still does the same thing as well. Gameplay-wise, from a baseline perspective, nothing's changing. The only new stuff we'll really probably see is from talents, and of course the artifact weapons. So I'm not trolling with that background because I don't like Feral Druids, so I don't want to get out there. The big change really is Savage Roar is now a talent, and there should be, hopefully, what would be bad, at least in my perspective, because I think Savage Roar is so boring and so antiquated, is if the other two things in a row aren't completely crap in comparison to Savage Roar, but we'll have to find out later down the line. I hope that is not the thing. The only talent they show for it was Jagged Wounds, passive, which is kind of something that makes sense if it was in the game now, but I don't think it will make sense if Savage Roar's not in the game. I asked them to consider something like this now, in the world of the Feral Druid right now. And the video probably exists. I can't find it right now, but I know I asked almost specifically for this talent in a world where Savage Roar exists. Without Savage Roar, I don't think this needs to exist. Unless the downtime's really bad. But if the downtime is really bad, then this talent makes total sense still. Which is Jagged Wounds, passive. It's Rip, Rake, Thrash. Your bleeds will do the same damage, but they'll do them in 33% less time. This is a great talent to counter the fact that you can easily, as a druid, run into periods of time where there's just fuck all to do. There's just fuck all to... Everything's ticking away, and you're making these ridiculous risks over whether or not you should be Ferocious Biting here, but will I have enough energy to get back to 5 before I've got to do Rip again? Snorefest, Snorefest, Snorefest. This should move you to more of a constant refreshing of bleeds, and keep a more fluid motion as you get better gear. Okay, so that's the general idea of the talent. Really happy to see it finally make its appearance. It seemed like such an obvious solution. It's obviously not my idea specifically. It's an obvious solution to the problem that Druids ran into, and one of the reasons I really hated Feral in Warlords of Draenor. Let's go on to the Guardian then. You've had some more significant changes. Like their feral brothers and sisters, Guardian Druids attune themselves to nature through Animal Kingdom. They commune with the wild to understand how life preserves through adversity. They know the creatures who survive are often those built to best protect themselves and their kin. In this, the Guardian Druid finds a deep and harmonious value in the steadfast, all the while recognizing that sturdiness requires an aggressive stance when danger comes near. Taking the form of a great bear, the Guardian Druid becomes a massive wall of fur, claw, tooth, and rage, aided by the forces of nature, standing in between allies and any opposing threats. The biggest, fattest ball of health in the game is about to get bigger, fatter, and hairier. We're not even dodging anymore, baby. That's right. We're sick and tired of the idea of really agile, quick, fat bears. So we've turned them into bigger, fatter bears is what they're doing. I'm not even fucking joking. From an offensive point of view, things remain pretty much the same, alright? So you're still going to have Mangle, Lacerate, Thrash, and they're adding Moonfire in baseline now, which is fine, usable in bear form. Nice pull, I suppose, nice range pull there for you. Maybe it replaces Fairy Fire, something along those lines. Let's talk about the defensive skills then. So instead of being focused on avoidance or anything like that, it's basically around being smashed in the face, is what it's about. So your Mastery, Nature's Guardian, increases your maximum health and healing received by 40%. You will take huge amounts of healing. You're just going to be... If you want to talk mana sponges, Guardian Druids are your friend. Okay? It increases your attack power as well. Who cares? It's just... You are just going to be this big fat thing, man. It's like, hit me. Fudge me now. Come on now. Hit me, baby. That's what it's going to be like as a Guardian Druid. So if you like the idea of just being a big wall of health, go for it. How are you going to be defensive then? You'll gain the new ability Iron Fur. I'm going to cost you 40 rage, this bad boy. 100% armor increase, okay, for 6 seconds. May overlap. The words may are kind of interesting because may either suggests to me they haven't decided or that yes, it can, but only for overlap is the thing to look for. So it'd be 6 seconds. So if you go like activate Iron Fur, for the next 6 seconds you have 100% more armor, right? Okay, deal. But 3 seconds later you do it again. You will get 3 seconds of 200% armor, and then after 3 seconds it will drop down to 100% armor again, okay? So that kind of wave line of how they're trying to get Iron Fur to work. Other than that, great for physical damage. No argument for me, Iron Fur, right? The next one they're going to give you is Mark of Ursol, 40 rage, so basically the same, and it's magic damage reduction for 6 seconds. So I have one button for when I'm being hit with melee, and then one button for when I'm being hit with magic. Derpy derp. Impressed, I am not. It's fucking max derp, in my opinion, for a tank. It couldn't get more basic than I have one. I have one button for this and one button for that. Now, you might say, the others have that. Warriors have that, right? Well, block isn't just armor, so you can hit me. Over and over again. And certainly, Spell Reflect with a 25-second cooldown is not quite the same thing. We will be putting a little bit more thought into it and whether this is armor or this is magic. But whatever. I mean, it seems extremely simplistic from my point of view. A Frenzied Regen still exists, but only 10 rage now. 10 rage for this spell is incredible. It's 2 charges. This is what is going to be the defining moment on it. And with a 20-second recharge, right, which is still really short for what it does. It heals 100% of the damage taken in the last 6 seconds. Now, I don't know what's going on with that. It's just a minimum of 5% of your maximum health. Considering you barely dodge anything anymore, that's a lot of healing, dude. You're going to have so much health and be taking way more damage that I think this is the only way they can offset the amount of healing that a Guardian Druid is probably going to take, right? Is that the idea here? That's what I'm reading, essentially, is you will be taking so much damage and need so much healing that we have to give you this because you're just going to be getting battered all the time, just absolutely pummeled by the bosses, and this is the only way we can really make it make sense. I don't know, out of all the tank previews, the Guardian for me needed a lot of love. It needed a lot of love, but they've not done anything to lacerate. It's still tied to one target and stackable for some goddamn reason. And the defensive side of it is really lackluster. There's nothing fun here, so hopefully something will exist in the talents of the artifacts to counter that. Is it better than what it is now? I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, I prefer Savage Defense. You know, choosing to be dodging or risk the dodge rather than just Iron Fur, which just makes them hit me. I mean, chance to dodge is more interesting. And dodge isn't great in the first place. It has its problems, but just taking all the damage and just reducing it. I know. There's possibility here for incredibly powerful things to come as well with these huge potential armor increases and huge healing. It's just going to be a big Derposaurus Rex, the Guardian Druid. So I don't know. Hopefully there'll be some skills buried in there somewhere. I'm sure they will be, right? Rendered Tear is the talent they show. Was Lacerate, yay. It reduces the target's damage done and increases your damage done to them by 3% per stack. Not that interesting, really. So it's 9% damage reduction, which is a lot. You know, if you're single target boss tanking, it's probably going to be the obvious choice, and you do 9% more damage, which is, you know, it is what it is. So there's the Guardian Druid for you, your big fat lump of clay, and the bosses are going to have a great old time bashing you over and over and over and over again, just whacking away, and that's the way it's going to be. Let's move on to our final one, the Restoration Druid, the big tree, my favourite healer in the game, as of Warlords of Draenor. The many gifts provided by nature must sometimes be reciprocated. Restoration Druids seek order in the world by tending directly to its many life forms, friend to flora and fauna alike. Restoration Druids celebrate birth and growth. Where there is decay, they bring rejuvenation. Where there is abatement, they summon regrowth. Life not only needs protection, it needs nourishment. To foster this harmony, the Restoration Druid builds a bond with the things that grow, gaining inspiration from the flowers' bloom, the seeds sprout, the mushroom spores, and the tree's growth. Like nature, the Restoration Druid preserves through patience and persistence, the foundation upon which all life is built and sustained. They use this power to mend wounds and provide persistent remedies that keep their allies from falling. The Restoration Druid is essentially not changing at all, which is fine. If it doesn't need changing, they're not going to change it. And the Resto Druid, they are more than happy with. All they're doing is shifting around the Mastery again. And I did check, this is extremely similar to a Mastery we had in the past, and it looked familiar. That was scrapped because it doesn't really work. No, not that that's a big deal. That's a big deal, to be honest with you. Masteries doesn't have to be very, very special. But the only reason I bring it up is that they are focusing on the Mastery. They think it's going to be pretty good. So, Mastery heals. Your healing's increased for each hot on the target. The Twitter sphere has had a reply from the Warcraft devs saying that the first hot actually gets more of a benefit from this than the second, okay? So, it seems like it'll still be pretty good anyway. Alright, still be pretty good. So that's the new Mastery. That's how it's going to work rather than the buff that we have been used to for quite some time now. But other than that, all the spells remain the same. You still have Healing Touch, Regrowth. Regrowth nicely has had that crit chance baked in, which is really cool. So you still get that hot instead of sacrificing that like you did with the Glyph. Wild Mushroom has just changed to the word Efflorescence. Simple as that. And you now just place it. You don't need to glyph it or anything like that. Swift Mend still remains. Life Bloom remains. Rejuve remains. Wild Growth still remains. Does exactly the same. Living Seed still remains. Omni Clarity still remains. Everything. All your baseline spells are exactly the same as they're in Wilds of Draenor, so nothing to worry about there. The talent is Flourish. 1 minute cooldown, which is incredibly powerful. I'll be interested to see exactly how they pull this out. It extends all active hots by 10 seconds. So, very cool for those people who are really nicely capable of tracking like their rejuve and stuff like that. So they know that when they've been rejuve spamming a lot of people, is they can see that first one's about to run off, then bang, rock that flourish, extend everything by 10 seconds while casting more. Very, very nice. Very, very nice ability. And I'm really glad to see talents like that where we can extend the hots instead of just like whack-a-moling them back out again, which you can often fall into that trap sometimes with the Restoration Druid. So I'm really happy with the talents, and I'm really happy they're leaving it alone. It's my favourite healer in WoD. I love the playstyle of the Resto Druid. It's so fun, so mobile. Absolutely love it. So I'm more than happy to see them leaving it alone. Love to see your thoughts down below though. There you go, guys. The Druid preview. Have I been a bit too harsh on the bears? Maybe. They're not that different than the other ones. They're not that different. So, there you go. I should mention, actually, before we go away, I'm being stupid. It's actually at the very top, which is why I missed it in my notes, is that they're giving a talent tier to the ability to take something from another spec and buff yourself. Now, I was actually really hoping, I read about this at the BlizzCon panel, and was really hoping that, because the Druids have 4 specs and they have different forms, is that they were giving people the opportunities to carry an off-spec, essentially. That's not actually what they're doing. So I was hoping that, say, if you went with, like, a Guardian Affinity, as they're calling, you could actually pop into tank for a short period of time. Kind of like Heart of the Wild, I suppose, I was hoping for, but a better version that was permanent. But that's not what they're going to do. The affinity system that you can choose from, you can gain the ability, some ability from another spec, but not a great deal. So the balance affinity, for example, is Astral Influence. It increases the range of spells, abilities, and auto attacks by 5 yards. Kind of nice if you're, I assume this works for a Feral Druid. So you can actually get like huge rage as a Feral Druid from melee, which is curious to see exactly how that will be abused. The Feral Affinity, obviously you can't choose the one that you're main spec'd into, so a Balance Druid can't use the Balance Affinity. Feral Affinity will give you 15% movement speed. If you choose the Guardian Affinity, you get 10% reduced damage, which are both viable options. And Restoration Affinity, which is Ysera's gift, as you know it from Wilds of Draenor, which heals you, and if you're at max health, it'll heal other people. So I imagine mostly the choices will come down to Swiftness or Thick Hide, depending on the encounter. But it's a little shame that that didn't go much further. I was hoping it would. But there you go. Alright guys, thank you so much for listening. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.